Hi everyone, I recently showed you how to bring a cutting file from your ScanNCut machine into Canvas Workspace for web and for PC. Now in this particular video I'm going to make a shaped card using that cutting file. I'm using Canvas Workspace for computer because I am thinking that I might want to add a greeting to the front of this card, which I would want to draw with a pen, and I want to use one of the fonts in my machine. So this is the cutting file that came over from the ScanNCut machine. Just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to fill it with a colour in the hope that you'll see it better. So there's the main part of the shoe, and then there's this like accent area that goes in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line the two pieces up. I'm going to select both, right click and make a duplicate, and just bring the duplicate down here. Now I want to weld these two shapes together because what I'm thinking of doing is making an offset around this shoe and making that into a shape card and then putting this on the front. So I've got the two pieces here lined up together, slightly overlapping. I'm going to select both. I'm still on the editing tab and I'm going to come down here to weld, and that makes this one shape now. So these I can put on one side. These are a group, I can ungroup them. I've got two parts to the shoe, and this I've just got one part, and this is the part I'm going to use to give me the shaped card. So now I'm going to come over to the rectangles and drag a rectangle on, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and rotate it, and this is going to be used as a guide for the size of the front and back of my card. So with it selected under the edit tab, I'm going to come up here to the width and height, and I'm going to make sure that maintain aspect ratio is unticked. Now I can see from the sizes here that under width it's saying 3.94, but that represents the height, and that's because I rotated the shape. And for some reason when you rotate the shape, the size orientation doesn't alter here. So I'm going to make the height of this rectangle, although it's under the width, if that makes sense, 5.5, and hit enter. And then because I've not got maintain aspect ratio selected, I can adjust the width, although I'm doing it under the height, independently, and I want to make that 4. So I've now got a rectangle that is 5.5 inches high by 4 wide, and this is roughly going to be the size that the front of your normal UK A6 or US A2 card will be. So now I'm just going to colour these in a slightly different colour, just so it doesn't get confusing. I'm going to group these two together, select them both, right click and group, and I'm going to position them on top of this one. Now I can see that they're going behind, so I'm just going to go right click, arrange and bring to front, and just position them where they're more or less lined up together. Select both, and I'm going to bring this up and position it over the front of what would be my base card. Now I can see that these are nearly or more or less the same width, and I want this to be slightly narrower. So I'm going to select the rectangle. I'm going to come over to the layers panel. I can find the rectangle here, it's selected because I've got it selected on screen, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. And now if I left click anywhere on the page to deselect this rectangle, the shoes are now on top. But because I've got two elements lined up on top of each other and a rectangle, sometimes you're choosing the wrong one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose the rectangle again, and then I'm going to come to the last little box here that says toggle lock. And now I cannot choose that rectangle at all, no matter what I do. So if I drag an imaginary box now, I'm only able to select these two shapes. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag it in a little bit, because obviously I want to make my shape card from the one I welded, and it's going to create an offset which is going to make it bigger. So if I make the whole thing smaller to start with, so if I now drag an imaginary box around both, I'm going to drag the height down slightly. Now I'm going to left click anywhere on the page to deselect, and I'm going to drag the green bit out of the way. So it's the pink bit I'm going to be using to make the base card. So I'm going to come to Edit, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and come to Offset, and I'm going to choose a 0.08 offset outward and round the outside only. And I'm going to say OK, and that's given me an offset. So I've now got three elements, but this is the main bit I want to make into my card. So now I'm going to bring a rectangle on with the shoe selected, and on the Edit tab I can see that the width of the shoe is 3.70. So I'm going to make this rectangle 3.70. Then I'm going to bring it up so it overlines the bottom of the shoe, and then I'm going to bring it up so that the bottom of this rectangle is at the same place as this big rectangle, which is just my guide, if you like. So now I can come back to my layers panel, I can come back to the shape that's locked, unlock it, select it, and hit the delete key on the keyboard, because it was only there for a guide. I'm going to select both of these, come to Edit, and align them centrally. And with them both aligned centrally and both overlapping here, I can see at the bottom, I'm now going to weld them. So that's given me the front of my card. Now I've got options. I'm going to right click and create a duplicate. I can either, with this duplicate selected, flip horizontally and make my card a side opening card, or if I undo that and select it and flip it vertically, I can make it a top folding card. I'm going to make it a side folding card. So I'm going to undo all that, select this, flip it horizontally, line it up so it overlaps slightly in the middle, select both. I'm going to line them both up on the bottom edge so I know that the card will stand properly. I can see that they're overlapped slightly in the middle, and I'm now going to weld. So this right hand portion will be the front of my card if I want the shoe facing that way. So I'm going to flip this shoe horizontally, and I'm going to select both of these and flip these. Now again, you're going to lose a little bit of the definition where you fold the shoe in half. So you can keep this layer if you want to. So now I can get rid of this because I don't particularly want it. So I'm going to hit delete on the keyboard, and then this is now my bit in two parts, which I can right click and ungroup, and I can cut this in any colour card I like and use the accent colour as the inward layer, which you can't really see too well in here. So I'll change it to pink because you might be able to see it better. And this now should be the right size when folded in half to fit into an A6 or A2 envelope. So now I think it would be nice to add a greeting and get the machine to draw it. So I'm going to come over to my text icon and left click on the page, and I'm going to type, I have enough shoes and then I'm going to hit the text icon again and left click and put and then I'm going to choose my fonts. So with the first part selected, I'm going to come up to my fonts and I'm going to try Astina and see how that looks. And I think that looks okay. So now I'm going to come to this one and change the font on this one. And for this one, I'm going to use a font called Banks Miles Single Line, which somebody messaged me about. Now, it could have either been Philip or Alan, I can't remember who, but I'm going to shrink these words down to fit on the front of my card. Just going to do that by eye initially. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to zoom in just on this area so that I can see better what I'm doing. Now with this one selected, I'm going to come up to the top and make it a draw file. And then with this one selected, I'm going to do the same. And then I'm just going to zoom back out. So this is a cut file. The shoe is a cut file because by default in Canvas Workspace for computer, everything is just a cut file, nothing else. So if you want to change it, you physically have to change it. So the shape card and the two parts of the shoe are assigned as cut files, and then my two words are assigned as draw. So I'll be able to write my greeting with a pen on the front of the card. And then now I'm going to send the whole file over to the machine. So I'm going to come back and go to File and transfer the file to the machine wirelessly. And that's told me that that's gone. So I can now go and retrieve this cut file on my machine and I can cut it and add the drawn greeting.